you know, a lot of people ask me, how do you get started bird watching? It's really easy. You get your bird book and you get your binoculars and you go out and you look at a bird and you look it up in the book and you think, oh my God, I have no idea what it is. Well, there's help. It turns out that most of the birds in the bird book aren't going to occur anywhere near where you are. So the first thing you have to look up is the range, the geographical range of the bird. You find the bird books are full of birds that don't occur within 1,000 miles of where you are. But the second where question is, what kind of habitat is it? Is it a forest? Is it a prairie? Is it a swamp? Is it a shoreline? And as you read the book, you'll realize that birds have quite strict habitat preferences. So the bottom line is, the simple part of it is, get a book, get the binoculars, and when you go out, look at where you are, look at the kind of habitat you're in, and then look at what kind of birds you expect to see in that particular kind of habitat. And that's going to make your life a lot more easy. When I go out bird watching, I often see some little black dot in the distance, and my wife Julia says, how do you know that's a particular kind of bird? And of course, what I see is a little black dot, but I see how that little black dot is moving. It's moving fast, is it moving slow, is it catching flies, is it catching lizards? And I know what habitat it's in. And it's those combinations of behavior and habitat that give me the clue to the bird. Bird watching is amazingly seductive, because once you've identified a few easy birds, you'll think, I can do this. Oh, I've identified a bird, it's really great. And you'll go after something that's a little bit more difficult, and then a little bit more difficult, and then you become addicted, and you get to the point where you want to go after the really challenging birds that are really hard to identify, where you have to look at the bird very carefully and very closely and study it and look at its plumage, and then you become a hardcore birder. Your whole life will now be changed and devoted to pursuing obscure little brown birds that only you and a million other people around the world will think are worth watching.
How difficult is it to learn the voices of the birds? Because I noticed that you can tell, just don't even turn your head and you can say what it is.
Most bird watchers, particularly in woods, don't see the birds, they hear the birds. And so how do you learn the bird calls? Once upon a time, that was really hard. You'd read a description in a book that said, this bird goes tweet, 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 tweet. And you'd think, what does that mean? In this day and age, you simply, go to your convenient cell phone and type in the name of the bird, and sure enough, it will play you the song. And if you're not careful, as it plays the song on your tape, some very irate bird that thinks that you are intruding on its territory will come and sit on the edge of your binoculars and tweet back at you in anger. The bottom line is, the ability to learn bird calls has never been, to put it simply, it's never been easier to learn bird calls, because you can carry every bird call in the world on your iPhone.
So you don't really have to learn them, you can just call them up.
You can just call them up.
Right.
And, again, it's a matter of a habitat. You go into a particular habitat and you're expecting a certain kind of bird. If you go into woodlands in eastern North America, you're going to hear cardinals and you're going to hear Carolina wrens, you're going to hear a number of other species, and you become very familiar with those first. If I hear a bird song of something that's in the wrong place, I can be as confused as anybody. I listen to a song and I say, don't know what that is, it doesn't sound right, what is it? It might be something I know very well, but if it's in the wrong place, it won't give me the necessary clue.
So it starts with the book and the binoculars, and it radiates out into the habitat, song,
yes,
flying patterns, and all that.
Book and binoculars, and almost everywhere you go, If you go to a national park or a state park or a nature centre, there'll be a checklist of the birds. And that really helps, because when you have a checklist of the birds, you can look down at which species of birds are likely to be common, and you can start with them. Generally, if you see something, it's going to be one of the common species and not one of the rare ones, and that can be a really important clue.